Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, February 23rd, back in the Radio Nook, and I've been unboxing yet more parcels, and I've got one last one to do, along with drink more tea. Remember, drink more tea. So it's quite a, beginning to get a bit. It's overcast, a little bit damp and chilly, definitely blustery. So this will be the last one I do today. So here we go. Here it is, and just covering things up. Just look at that. That should give you an idea of who it's from. Golden Goblin Press is a publisher of Call of Cthulhu titles, and they usually do sort of like 2 or 3 books a year of varying sizes, anthologies of scenarios and fiction, and notably the Golden Goblin Press is the publisher for the Cthulhu Invictus line, and has supported it with some excellent supplements to date. So let's get into this large package. Almost there. Okay. And pulling out what we've got in here. Oh, okay. Another package. So, folks, you get a double unboxing. Just points to the time and dedication that Golden Goblin Press basically pay attention to the packaging. So I've got one book in here. Okay, and this is the Eldritch New England Holiday Collection. Kids growing up in Eldritch corners of New England have rather unique childhoods. Those growing up in Arkham, Kingsport, Innsmouth and Dunwich know that shadows hide darker evil. The 6 cousins of the Morgan clan are no different. The cousins are aware their hometowns aren't like other places. They know that ghosts haunt empty fields, that monsters lurk beyond the wall of sleep, that horrors lurk below lowly graveyards, and that the darkest secrets are often kept by those trying to protect us. They also know that whatever happens, they'll face it together and do whatever it takes to set things right. They're sure that the light of friendship and family can cast away any shadows. But what do kids know? The Eldritch New England Holiday Collection, a Call of Cthulhu campaign of holiday-themed adventures for adolescent investigators. Halloween in Dunwich, a dark night of ghost stories on great-grandpa Silas's farm. Christmas in Kingsport, a magical holiday filled with surprises, adventure, magic and horror. Easter in Arkham, a week-long holiday in Arkham filled takes a very dark turn. Innsmouth Independence Day, a long weekend on the beach leads to rebellion and secrets. Also, the history of the Morgan family, the Morgan family tree, an overview of the Morgan cousins, 24 pre-generated investigators, the Morgan cousins, their best friends forever, the cousins as adult investigators, and the cousins as pulp adult investigators. So there are lots of options in this book. It's full colour. I'll just open up, and so just to give you an idea of what you're looking at is that. So in the past, what has happened is that Chaosium used to publish monographs, the Miskatonic University Library Association monographs, and in each case the author would submit a book, and Chaosium would basically print it in limited batches and make it available direct from their site. And some of these were very good, some of them not, but regularly they would publish Halloween Horror, which is a collection of different an anthology of different scenarios published for Halloween. And if I recall correctly, Oscar Rios submitted adventures in which you play children of families connected to the mythos. And this plays upon that idea. So you actually have characters whose families are deep ones, or connected to the Whateleys, and that kind of thing. Now, another thing is basically playing as children is not new to Call of Cthulhu. Notably, The Dare was published last year, based around 1980s horror movies and video nasty sort of thing, in which you basically played basically young teenagers, and playing younger characters like that has been a thing in horror, in horror and role playing in general of late, with things like kids on bikes, which obviously inspired by things like E.T. and Stranger Things, and Tales from the Loop, the Swedish role playing game, entirely different, and they're not the only ones. They're certainly the most notable ones. But here we have a complete campaign dedicated to the concept. As it basically brings up, the first thing it does, Chaosium hold a Halloween contest in 2005, and essentially this is where the start scenario started. And it's really nice that the author, essentially Oscar Rios, can go back to basically an idea and develop it into something else. So we have tips for keepers and players, to essentially, things like don't try to be a stereotype or some archetype, just try to remember what it's like being an adolescent during the holidays and go with it. Don't rush the narrative, don't metagame. But remember, you're not playing a professional investigator, you're playing a child doing their best. So on, don't be afraid to burn luck for vital clues and so on. Be brave, take risks. Many kids have a never say die attitude and don't think they ever will. Be optimistic, but kids often try to see the best in people. Essentially what we have next is the history of the Morgan family with different lines, so the Dunwich line, the Arkham line, the Kingsport line, and the Innsmouth branch. And this is a campaign set in Lovecraft Country, or Lovecraft County, whichever, which is explored with things like Tales from the Miskatonic Valley, Escape from Innsmouth, Dunwich Horror, and things like that. It's primarily focusing about Arkham Unveiled, and it's primarily sort of focusing upon the region where Lovecraft himself set many of his stories. So we have a guide to the cousins, so presenting the cousins with the Dunwich cousins, to Arkham cousins, so on. And each of these have a unique ability. So let's have a look. Gertrude Gurley Constant Pope, who is a member of one of the Dunwich cousins, she has ancestral memory. She carries the genes of the ancient Hyperboreans, some of whom once dwelled in Dunwich. And each of the sort of the pre-generated characters has these, and it basically gives the characters a little bit of an edge, essentially, in investigating the mythos. And we're basically quite gorgeous. These are lovely maps of the region. So a map of essentially East Dunwich and West Dunwich. This is really nice. I wrote this really nice. And again, it's definitely Halloween because there's a pumpkin carving competition. It's again nice handout. It's a nice full colour artwork book The artwork, I suppose, I would say it's a little cartoony, but it's again, not to disparage it. It's really nicely done, and it feels appropriate to the setting. You wouldn't necessarily use it for the for standard Call of Cthulhu, perhaps. So that we go on to Christmas in Kingsport. Nice classic image of map of Kingsport there. And again, really nice is sort of like we have some nice classic images here. So for sledding, and basically it's essentially a postcard or Christmas card style image there. For fortune telling, you have a classic tarot card image. Basically, here's a guide to. There's even a guide to snowball fighting in Call of Cthulhu. And obviously, you're never going to use that in this. I say you're never going to use that. It's very unlikely you're going to use that in a standard game. But in a kids versus the Michaels game, then yeah. And again, Christmas carols, a tradition of singing outside people's homes for rewards and so on, and singing and they're getting cookies. Again, that's almost a forgotten, not quite a forgotten pastime, but it's something that they would certainly do. Then of course we go on to dreaming in Call of Cthulhu. There is some necessary, because obviously Kingsport is the city of dreaming. And it's fantastic artwork. I mean, I love the bringing together of sort of classic images of the period. So essentially Krampus, sort of like the Christmas kind of monster, sort of like the anti-Santa Claus, and Santa Claus there is gets his own little image there. It's a nice piece. And next week again, this there's almost essentially this is them in the characters in Investigators in the Dreamlands, and that almost has a resonance. Sort of like you're looking at it going, oh, it's almost a little bit like the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon in a way, but obviously for a Lovecraftian setting rather than the fantasy of Dungeons and Dragons. And again, there's also there's almost something in that image again. I'm thinking of almost like Mask of the Red Death and Poe, Edgar Allan Poe to it as well. But at the same time, it's slightly comical. There is an element of humour to that image. Easter in Arkham, again, another nice map of Arkham. People will recognise that essentially the map of Arkham, not necessarily that particular map, but essentially it's been mapped again and again over the years to a chance for characters to get involved in the Miskatonic Spring Fair and Easter activities. So egg painting competition, best bonnet, Easter egg hunt, things that we don't necessarily do these days, but were done in the past, and they were seen as fun. You have, here are the investigators again at an event, and you have the the badger, which is the Miskatonic mascot. Okay, so that's Easter in Arkham. Basically, yeah, things do not appear not to go very well in that scene. I don't know what's happening there, but you've got basically like a zombie with a gun, and that's not going to go well. Okay, basically Innsmouth Independence Day, and I think what's going to be interesting about this scenario is the presentation of Innsmouth from a different angle. It's you from a child's eye point of view, because we've all got a view of what Innsmouth is like: dank, dull, fishy, even. You know, from reading the original short story, and then its presentation in other material. But what's it like if you've got relatives there? You know, when you visit, and of course, I love this. Okay, the characters get to go to a fish boil and clam bake. There's a sandcastle building contest. You know, classic activities for sort of like for Independence Day, July the 4th, for these characters would participate in. And again, you have a classic map of Innsmouth. Wow, so yeah, lots to dig into here. This is a fantastic looking book. You've got several meaty different lengthy scenarios, and essentially you come to the end, you've got images of the cousins through the years. So here we are when they are young, and then it's presenting each of those characters as written. So for example, here's the character sheet for Gertrude. Okay, standard Call of Cthulhu 7th edition character sheet, and then you have a lot of background for it on the back. And I think this inclusion, you know, you get a scenario, and you sort of like sometimes you think I'd like more information about this character, and sometimes obviously you've got to make it up. But here you've got that information here for you, and so you've got basically for Gordon Brewster and Gertrude, but Derby and or Darby, Donald Sutton, Alice Sanders, all you know, and Paulie Johnson, all of the characters, Zane Fleming, Thomas Quinn, and more. And then the cousins all grown up, and it's essentially the same thing again, but it's presenting them essentially sort of like between 1934 and 1936. They're all in their early 20s, making their way in the world, still keep in touch. Okay, and here's it updates them so that they could be having adventures of their own, yeah, and then the cousins all pulped up, all ready for action. Again, it's the same artist throughout, David Lee Ingersoll. It's fantastic artwork, really capturing sort of like the feel and the flavour of these characters. And lastly, we've got all the handouts and so on. So, you know, the Arkham Adventure, fun things to do in Arkham. And obviously that's for the Easter event. So, first off, I want to thank Oscar Rios at Golden Goblin Press for sending me a review copy. I'm really looking forward to digging into this. And then thank you again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you've enjoyed this, please click the like button. If you've got feedback or comments, please take the time. I do read them. And lastly, if you want to see more of these, please do subscribe. Again, thank you very much. I will be back very soon with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.